Ever catch yourself, like, picturing what it'd be like to work on a drilling rig? Out in the middle of nowhere, deciphering clues buried deep underground.
It's not as crazy as it sounds.
Right. Well, get ready to dive deep into the world of mud logging. And trust me, it's way more interesting than the name lets on.
Definitely more to it than just mud.
We're digging into some awesome insights from RoleCatcher's Career Guide today. They've got the lowdown on this unique career path.
Mud logging's a critical part of oil and gas exploration. It's this cool blend of geology and, dare I say it, detective work.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. So let's break it down. What does a mud logger actually do all day? It can't be just staring at mud, right?
Right, it involves mud, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Imagine this, you're on a rig, could be smack dab in the desert, offshore, you name it.
Talk about an office with a view.
Right, and you're in the rig's lab analyzing drilling fluid, often called mud, pumped up from the wellbore, which is basically the hole they're drilling.
Okay, so they're analyzing this mud, but what are they hoping to find?
They're on the hunt for hydrocarbons, oil and gas, the good stuff.
Ah, the treasure at the end of the mud trail.
Exactly. The mud logger figures out if those resources are present, and crucially, at what depth.
So they're providing a treasure map of sorts to the drilling operation.
That's a great way to put it, but there's more to it. They're also keeping a close eye on natural gas levels, super important for safety and environmental reasons.
So it's not just about finding the good stuff, but also making sure everything's running smoothly and safely.
You got it. It's about safety first and then finding those resources. And here's where the real detective work comes in. They're also analyzing rock fragments brought up in the mud.
Rock fragments, so like they're piecing together clues from the mud and rocks.
Exactly. It's called lithology. They're basically figuring out the characteristics of the rock.
Rock detectives. What can they actually tell from these rocks, though?
Oh, a ton. Like by analyzing the properties of the rock, things like hardness, texture, even what kind of fossils it contains.
Wow, fossils. Didn't see that coming.
Right. They can determine the quality and quantity of potential oil and gas reserves. So, for example, certain types of sandstone might point to a massive reservoir, while shale might mean something totally different.
So, they're guiding the whole drilling process based on these clues from the mud and rocks. High stakes. Which brings us to the big question. Why is all of this so important?
Because the mud logger isn't just gathering all this data, they're interpreting it. They're like the eyes and ears of the whole drilling operation.
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility.
It is. They're giving real-time information that directly impacts where to drill next, how deep to go, and whether a well is going to be a gusher or a bust.
So they could have the difference between a drilling operation being a huge success or a costly failure.
100%. Their analysis is crucial for optimizing drilling, making it safer, more efficient, and ultimately way more profitable.
I bet there's some wild stories about mudloggers saving the day.
Oh, absolutely. RoleCatcher actually gave a great example. A mudlogger's careful analysis of gas levels once prevented a potentially catastrophic blowout on a rig.
Wow, talk about a high-pressure job. They saved lives and probably millions of dollars.
No doubt. It's not for the faint of heart. But those kinds of stakes usually come with some serious perks.
Okay, so what's the allure? What are the challenges of this unique career path? Being out on a rig can't be all sunshine and roses, right?
You're telling me. It's full of exciting highs and some demanding lows, for sure. Let's start with the good stuff. Mudlogging often comes with a fantastic salary.
Okay, so it pays to be a mud whisperer.
Yeah.
What kind of numbers are we talking here?
Well, according to RoleCatcher, entry-level mudloggers can earn like $60,000 to $70,000 a year.
Not bad for, what did you call it? An office with a view.
Right, but get this. With experience and the right certifications, you can easily climb to $100,000 or more, especially in senior roles.
Okay, now those are some numbers that could convince someone to say goodbye to their cubicle. What else? Didn't RoleCatcher also mention something about travel opportunities?
Oh yeah, for sure. Think about it. Drilling rigs are all over the world. We're talking deserts of the Middle East, offshore platforms in the Gulf of Mexico, you name it.
Now that's what I call a perk. But it's not all about the money and the travel, is it? What about the work itself? What's rewarding about that?
It's incredibly hands-on. You're not stuck behind a desk, that's for sure. You're out there getting your hands dirty, using your skills to unearth valuable resources.
Sounds like the perfect blend of science and like real-world action.
Exactly. It's science in action.
And speaking of action, what about the long game? What does growth look like in the mud logging world? So you can go from getting your hands dirty to calling the shots as a senior mudlogger. That's quite a journey. But I'm guessing it's not just about putting in the years. What can aspiring mudloggers do to really stand out and, move up the ladder?
You're right. Experience is key, but it's not the only thing. RoleCatcher really emphasizes continuing education as a strategy for faster advancement and opening up more opportunities.
Makes sense. What kind of continuing education are we talking? Are there any specific certifications that are valuable in this field?
Absolutely. The mud logging certification is a big one.
Okay, mudlogging certification, got it. What about expanding your knowledge base more broadly, beyond just mudlogging?
That's where the petroleum geology certification comes in.
So showing a deeper understanding of the whole, geological context of oil and gas.
Exactly. That's super valuable as you move into more senior roles.
You're not just a mudlogger anymore. You're like an all-around expert.
Right. And then there's building a strong portfolio, showcasing that expertise.
So what would that look like for a mudlogger?
Yeah.
What goes in that portfolio?
Well, it could include a collection of your drilling fluid analysis reports. Maybe you've presented at industry conferences or even published research papers.
So it's about really going above and beyond, demonstrating a real passion for this.
Yeah, like building your personal brand as a mudlogger.
I like that. And of course, networking is always key, right?
Huge, especially in a specialized field like this.
Where do mudloggers even go to network?
Industry events and conferences are always a good bet. Meeting other professionals, learning about new technologies. You might even stumble upon your next job opportunity.
It's all about making those connections.
100%. For those just dipping their toes in, RoleCatcher recommends, seeking out entry-level positions or internships.
Classic foot in the door.
Exactly. And while you're at it, connect with other mudloggers.
Okay, but how? Where do you even find them?
There are professional organizations and online forums for the field.
So you can ask questions, get advice, learn from the pros.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of shadowing someone on the job.
Oh, that's a good one. Shadowing.
Yeah. Reach out to a mudlogging company, see if you can spend a day observing. You'd be surprised how many are open to it.
Because it's one thing to read about it,
Yeah.
but to actually see it in action, that's huge.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Career path, certifications, building a portfolio, the importance of networking. But let's bring it back to our listener for a second.
I like where you're going with this.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to one question.
Mm.
Is mudlogging the right fit for you?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right, because it's not just about whether the job sounds cool or even if it pays well. It's got to align with your interests, your personality, all of that. So let's get real. What are some honest questions you should be asking yourself if you're considering this path? So let's get real. What are some honest questions you should be asking yourself if you're considering this path?
Well, first things first, you got to ask yourself, do you enjoy hands-on work?
Right. It's not your average desk job.
Not even close. And I mean really hands-on, being out in the field, sometimes in some pretty challenging conditions.
Yeah, you're going to be dealing with drilling fluid, rock samples, using some serious equipment.
Exactly. So think about it. Does the idea of working on a rig in the middle of the desert or on a platform at sea excite you or make you want to run for the hills?
Right. It's all about finding that excitement in the challenge. If you love science, but also being in the thick of it, this could be a perfect match.
100%. And speaking of being in the thick of it, you got to be honest with yourself about your comfort level with demanding environments.
We've talked about the irregular schedules, potential for isolation, the challenging weather. It's all part of the package.
It's not a 9 to 5, that's for sure. You might be working long shifts, weekends, and definitely be away from home for a while.
It's part of the adventure. You're seeing new places, meeting new people, being part of something totally unique. Okay, so you've got the passion for it. You're okay with the less glamorous side of things. What else?
And this is a big one. Do you have that, curious, analytical mind? Are you someone who gets a kick out of solving puzzles, connecting the dots, figuring things out?
Because mudlogging is all about analyzing data, recognizing patterns, putting the pieces together to find those valuable hydrocarbons, like we said, scientific detective work.
Exactly. If unraveling the mysteries hidden underground gets you fired up, then the challenges of the job won't feel like burdens. They'll feel like, exciting obstacles to overcome. So after this deep dive, if you're thinking, this sounds amazing, where do I sign up? What are some concrete steps you can take?
Yeah, let's talk action plan.
Well, internships and entry-level positions are a great starting point. But And I know we've said it a lot, don't underestimate the power of networking,
Can't hurt to mention it one more time.
right? Even if you're not ready to apply for jobs just yet, reach out to companies, introduce yourself, express your interests.
So many people are happy to chat, especially if you're genuinely interested in what they do.
Exactly. Ask questions, learn about the company culture, different roles they have. You can even get a feel for what the day-to-day life of a mudlogger is like.
It's invaluable. And don't forget shadowing. Actually, seeing a mud logger out there on a rig doing their thing, you can't get that from a job description.
Absolutely not. It's like a backstage pass to the world of mudlogging.
Well, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, don't let it end here. Do your research, reach out to people, and see where this exciting path might lead you. It's been awesome exploring the world of mudlogging with you today. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just that mudlogging is so much more than people realize. It's a vital, challenging, and truly rewarding career. And it's right at the forefront of energy exploration. Who knows? Maybe one of our listeners will be the one to make the next big discovery.
There you have it. It's not just about mud. It's about pushing boundaries, unraveling mysteries, and playing a vital role in powering the world.